a separate incentive agreement with them if they say, I'll only come if you do such and such, and then we need to decide whether we're willing to do such and
And
such.
they're not coming in with them, they're coming in under another
Right.
company.
Right.
Then the city gets the money.
The city gets the money? Okay. What about if like restaurants, is that still under the business type thing, and they could come and do that too?
Yeah, I mean, in other words, say Cheesecake Factory said, I'll come in there next to the thing. If John and them develop it on a piece of property they own, they get the incremental sales tax. If another developer comes in and says, look, I can bring a Cheesecake Factory to East Ridge on this parcel that I own if you'll agree to give me $200,000 a year of the incremental sales tax revenues that you're getting, then if we did that, we could do that.
What happens if it's an already set up strip mall, somebody owns it and they want to come into that strip mall? Would you still do the same thing, or would that not be legal?
You would have to be torn down to regulate it.
Well, it is legal to pay lease incentives. In other words, so if it was somebody that was going to generate a bunch of sales tax revenues and you needed to pay so-and-so to come into an existing strip center, and it made sense for the city, if it was going to generate $1 million, say, mechanically, one thing the city would look at is what are the local option revenues they're going to receive off of it. If they're substantial and are going to outweigh a commitment from state monies, they may want to do that. But it would just be doing the math and trying to decide whether it made economic sense to do that.
I was just thinking about the couple of strip malls we have in East Ridge that were prosperous, now they're not. They're, some of the places are empty.
Yep.
And if that would be a place that, say, a Cheesecake Factory or something would come in there, could they do the same thing that LLCs do?
Yeah, and that's what made, yes, is the answer. It goes back to the mayor's question. Yes, we now can use this excess that's being paid to the city to provide lease incentives to other people to come in, but we need to use them very judiciously because it's not an unlimited source. But at the same time, we only have 6.5 years to do that. So we need to get our Cheesecake Factory soon. I mean, I'm kidding, but I mean, it's.
Now, that was the other question.
Yes.
It has to be within that time frame.
Yes.
We're running out of time.
Right.
Okay, all right, that's what I need. Thank you.
In other words, you're saying that Bass Pro Shop would not get cut out of that, right?
Right. In other words, if we bring in somebody new, as long as we're staying above that $10 million threshold, candidly, the Walmart itself will likely keep us well above that threshold for the near-term future. I mean, I would think. I mean, I don't know, but I would think so.
And that's, that's something else too. We're talking about, disbursements that the Exit One would get and disbursement money that we would get. All of that, again, is state money. That isn't even, talking about the local option. If the guys bring in 10 restaurants down there at Exit One, they may get the disbursement from the state for those properties, but we get all of our local option money. Which would be huge, plus the improved property tax over what's there. So,
Yeah, I mean, I know what as you all know, if the local option tax is 2.5, you get half of that based on situs. In other words, half goes to the school system, half stays with the community where it originates. And so you may have other agreements with Hamilton County or something, but legally that's where the money goes. And so every business creates local option sales tax revenues, and that's candidly why Bristol gave them $25 million in public improvements, because they did the math, and the local option in of itself paid for that $25 million if they got the Bass Pro and Pinnacle. And so their share, which is relatively small, they get 10%. It's all public record. They get 10% of the increment from what they call the Pinnacle. They get zip. Just like John's deal from the Bass Pro, they get 10% from the sort of the belts, sort of the big shopping center that's next to the Bass Pro, and that's going to be good money, but it ain't a ton. Where they really get their money, in their judgment, is they get those local option sales tax revenues that until now were going in Virginia because that's where the belt was at the Bristol, Virginia Mall, until it moved to Bristol, Tennessee because of the Board of Region Act.
Mark,
Yes.
you might want to take something to the folks up in Bristol. There's going to be legislation coming this year about the local option sales tax.
Oh,
Yeah. Just put that on their radar.
I hope it's not bad for them, but it is what it is. Yeah, they're. I'll mention, I'm sure they'll be keenly interested in it. So, but I really appreciated your questions, because I sort of understand now sort of what I can see why if the word annually appeared in the resolution, did it not also appear in that definition? I think if you, and I know you all have, but I think if you further work through the document and the commitment to pay project tax revenues as received, we have legally committed to pay them on an annual basis if you read the document in whole. And if there was any ambiguity in the document, if you look at the resolution and the many presentations that we made to the IDB and stuff, I think, unfortunately, I mean, it was pretty clear what we economically were agreeing to at the time.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of looked weird to me about it was the resolution being signed in June.
Yes.
In August, there's another incentive, still annual wasn't put in it.
Yeah, I can see why you're at, and it was picked up in the way the project tax, but I was kind of, I'm really glad you explained it, because I didn't know really who was raising the issue, and I was really concerned where it was coming from, and I see exactly, and honestly, as I was preparing for this meeting, I picked up on that same very issue, but I think, again, if you look at, we committed to pay them the project tax revenues as received, and so we received them annually, so.
One thing I just wanted to mention that Jackie, you mentioned earlier,
that agreement that talks about the dates, if you read that, the Bass Pro, it actually says the 2015 disbursement happens here, the 2016 disbursement happens here, and any year thereafter. So that's actually the 2017 is when that starts. It's after the this addresses the 2014, 2015, and 2016 disbursement.
Does anyone else have a question? I know we've got some IDB folks here. Do any of you have a question that you would like to ask Mark? Anything at all? Okay.
With all this talking about, with all the finding out who closes, who opens and such, like it looks like we really need somebody to stay on top of this. And like I say, you were talking about maybe looking at bringing in somebody just for something like this.
Right. It's granted, a lot of the foundational work is done. Very difficult, as Mike can attest, and Diane, I'm sure, can. But it's going to be very, very important that we keep an extremely accurate picture of what is open, what is closed inside the district in order to receive what we ought to be receiving. And that's going to take quite a bit of work to stay on top of that.
Do our law firm, you have someone, got the qualifications to stay on top of that?
Not from the county standpoint, and not from the Board of Regional Development, that's why Mark's involved.
I don't think it's really more of a legal issue. I think the one thing that you all can do, and again, Diane's not here, so I can dump on her, but every time somebody pulls a business license, I assume you have to pull a business license to open a business here in the city. Every time somebody does that, you check to see whether they're on a parcel that's in the Board region, and start keeping a list, and so that when we get to the end of the year, that we make sure that they're, they're on there. The ones that close, those aren't as big a concern, because candidly, their sales tax revenues are just going to disappear. I'm not so much worried about the ones that close. What I'm worried about is we pick up the ones that are added, and the way, I think the best way to do it is to keep track of the business licenses as they're done throughout the year. And I don't know how big a job that would be, but my guess is that's a pretty, honestly, I would have told you a month and a half ago, you needed some help to get this done, but Diane drove in, Mike Kelly was really great having the fire chief there too, because he knew geographically where all this stuff was, because he knew the city really well. So, I mean, your team really dove in and got it done. And I thought you really probably needed some third-party accounting help there for a while, but y'all came through. And so I don't know, I think I would see how, whether you are able to track business licenses and keep track of it, and then decide whether you need further help. But yeah, love Hal, love his accounting firm, his law firm, and in all seriousness, I used to work there as a baby lawyer as a law clerk, so I've known him for years, but either his firm or my firm is not we're not mathematicians, you need some, really accounting type person to keep an eye on this sort of thing.
We've already developed a spreadsheet on all the businesses that are, all the parcels that are in Eastern region. So that is in place now, even before we decide on who's gonna take this task on in the future. That at this time will be updated as new businesses come in, to get those business licenses. So we'll be on top of that until we, deem that to another person.
Mark, thank you again for being with us tonight.
That's really fun. I just kept thinking, as I was driving, that if you were West Ridge instead of East Ridge, I would have been on time.
Well, thank you as always for being here, and thank you all for being here tonight. And if you have any questions or need any additional information, I'm sure we'll be glad to provide whatever we can provide. With that, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.